Hello, everybody. I am so happy to be here again. The week definitely flew by, and thank you for joining tonight. I would very much appreciate it if anybody has some thoughts they want to share, something that an insight that you had, a moment of awareness. If you could press *1 and speak up, that would be awesome. And that could happen now, or it could happen at any time, or you could text to 917-687-9712. We're going to be continuing tonight. I just want to say before we start, in case you're here and you're not going to be there at the end, I'll say it also at the end. In Mir Hashem, this Sunday night, we are not meeting. Baruch Hashem, I have a family simcha. So this Sunday night, we will be off, and we will make up the time in Mir Hashem on the following Sunday. I mean, the next time we'll be meeting is next Thursday night. So this Sunday we're off. Okay, Yidel from Chelm today we're going to be talking about activating our connection with our neshama. We got to a place of clarity where we realize that there's really a lot to value about ourselves, right? We have this amazing, unstoppable, lichtigkeit, precious value, infinite, untouchable value within us. Now the question is, I know that I have a neshama. I know that it's worth something. I know that it's very, very precious. How do I feel different because of it? And that's what we're going to be talking about. Okay, so the first thing I want to say is that the more Hashem is real to you, and I know I've said this before, but it's worth saying again. The more Hashem is real to me, the more my neshama will be real to me. If my neshama feels, if Hashem is an abstract concept, who Hashem doesn't actually make a difference to my reality, it doesn't make a difference to me whether Hashem is in the room or not in the room, then it won't be different. I won't feel different by the fact that my neshama is in my body or chas v'shalom out of my body. This is exactly the same thing, because what's our neshama? It's nothing but a part of Hashem. So to the extent that we value Hashem, that's how much we'll value our neshama. And that's why it's so critical. That's part of why it's so critical. The key here is to make Hashem more real for you, to develop emotions in your heart about Hashem, and to be able to develop an awareness and a connection where actually when you think about Hashem, that thought actually makes a difference to the moment. It could even change your mood. And how do you do that? By thinking about Hashem, learning about Hashem, and the best time to do this is during davening. Every week, pick a different tefillah to focus on. Every day, pick a different tefillah to focus on, and just be mindful about the meaning of the words. I want to share one other thing about this. My father told me, it could be I said this story before, but because it's okay. My father always told the same stories again and again, and he always told me that one of his students, he always told us, my family, that his students told him that they thank him not for the stories that he said once, but for the stories that he said again and again, because those are the stories that they really remember. So I apologize if I said the story before, but I know that even if I did say it before, it's going to help all of us remember. This is one of the things that I could tell myself again and again. Reb Nissen Nemena was a very respected mashpia, and he was one of my father's mentors. And he told my father this, he asked him this question. He said, how could it be that somebody could daven the entire davening, every single word, say it slowly and carefully, every nekuda, and how could it be possible? And he'll even know the meaning of the words, and he'll have in mind the meaning of the words. How is it possible that a person could do that, and yet he did not begin to daven? You can't even call that experience avodas Hashem. How could it be? He said every word. He said every ois, every nekuda. He even thought about the meaning of the words. How could that be? And he answered, he said, because when this person says, for example, Tehillah David, Aremimcha Hashem, David, Aremimcha Alakai HaMelech, Baruch Hashem Chalalim Ba'ed. Yeah? When this person says it, it's like he's thinking that David HaMelech is saying, Ahalal Hashem Chalalim Ba'ed. David HaMelech is saying it. It's not me talking to my father. It's not me with my Eibishter. There's another story that I heard actually from Rabbi Silberberg. I love this story. He said that one time in the shtetl, there was a innkeeper who had hired a Melamed. And as was very common in those times, the Melamed was not just the person who was able to teach, he was also the only literate person in that area. So the innkeeper was, he had his business to do, but he did not know how to read. So every time he had any correspondence by mail or anything that needed to be read, the Melamed stood in as his reader, as well as his children's teacher. So one time a letter was delivered to him, and the Melamed opened the letter, he read the letter, and then he told the innkeeper what it said. And what it said was that the innkeeper's father was nifter. The innkeeper's father passed away. As soon as he heard the news, the innkeeper fainted. He fainted straight out on the floor. He couldn't. When he got to himself, it took him a while to regain his equilibrium, his sense of calm, and he sat shiva. He was very, very broken, very devastated. And at one point, he asked the Melamed. He said, "It's so interesting. How could it be you read the same letter as I did? You read the letter, and you had no reaction. And then when you read the letter to me, I fainted. What happened?" And I'm sure if you had pressed that one, I'm sure you would be able to perfectly say the answer. What's the answer? The innkeeper said, "He's not my father." Of course I didn't faint. He's not my father. So in our davening, where we want to get to that place is when we say Avinu Malkeinu, if we're saying those words, or when we say Shema Yisrael Hashem Elokeinu, or when we say Ahalal Hashem Chali Olam Vayed, it's got to be me talking to my father, me talking to my Eibishter, me having a very deeply personal, intimate experience that's alive, that's dynamic, that has drama, that has emotion, that has passion, that has truth. That's the energy level that we're trying to reach for in our relationship with Hashem. And how does it come to be? Only by investing our minds and hearts in davening, thinking about Hashem, and learning about Hashem and thinking about Hashem on a personal level. And that we did speak about, so we're going to go ahead. I always tell the story, whenever we have this conversation, I always tell the story about Yidel from Chelm. It's one of my favorite stories. He was afraid of the bathhouse because having been there before, he knew what happens in the bathhouse, that he doesn't have his clothing on, and neither do any other people that he sees in the bathhouse have their clothing on. And his big worry is, what if I can't find myself afterwards? What if I forget which person is me? So he was very afraid of going there. But after a while, it could no longer be pushed off, and he really needed to go. So Hashem helped him, and he came upon a plan that would allow him to deal with his fear. What did he do? He took a big red string, a thick one, and he carefully wrapped it around his big toe on his right foot. And he thought, okay, this will be my identifying feature. When I see this string, I'm going to know it's me. And with that plan in place, he headed to the bathhouse. Now, in the process of bathing, his red string fell off. So as he came out of the water, he immediately noticed, he looked at his toes, and it was gone. And what was even more horrifying was that he looked around and he noticed a red string winding around Herschel's toe. So he was horrified, and he went over to Herschel and he said, I know who you are. Please, I'm begging you, tell me, who am I? And of course, why was he so frustrated and pained and upset? Because knowing who we are and feeling connected with ourselves is an essential need. So our neshama is that's who we are. We're defined by our neshama. That's our identifying feature, and nobody could ever take it away from you. It could never fall off. Nothing that anybody could say to you or do to you could ever change who you are and what you are worth, the infinite value that Hashem gives you. Nobody and nothing could change it. It's untouchable. And yet, and we need that. We need that value. It's an essential need. But when we don't feel connected with our neshama, we feel insecure. And we need to create an identity for ourselves. So we do what Eagle did, right? We tie some red strings around our big toes. We create an ego. An ego is a false identity. It's when I don't know who I am, I need to create a picture of myself. I need to create someone. I need to be a someone. If I don't feel like a someone, I need to make myself into a someone. And I'll find a way to be a someone. And we create that someone usually based on circumstances and things, people, places, things, situations, events. Who am I? I'm the girl who's skinny. I'm the girl who's not skinny. I'm the girl who's funny. I'm the class clown. I'm the one who always knows how to help people. I'm the sensitive. We even use our strengths as our identity. And again, it's beautiful to be proud of our strengths, but it should never replace the value, our true sense of value, because red strings are flimsy. The less connected we are with our true self-definition, the more dependent we are on our created definitions, on our ego. And the more dependent we are, the more we rely on that ego, on our created, on our self-made definition, the more fragile our sense of security is. The more fragile we are, the more quote unquote sensitive we are. You know, it's very nice. A lot of people say I'm such a sensitive person. Sensitive is very nice when it applies to other people. When we can think of other people's needs and other people's emotions and how they might be hurt, it's beautiful. But when we get hurt by everyone and everything, you know, when we fall apart because someone said something that kind of, you know, wasn't as that didn't stoke our ego, we fall apart. Or when someone insults us and we totally fall apart, that's because that's not sensitive, actually. That's called having a fragile sense of self. And of course, any sense of self other than our neshama is going to be fragile. Has to be fragile because it's made by man, as opposed to made by God, made by Hashem. A sense of self that's made by Hashem is indestructible. Yeah, of course, as human people, we're going to get insulted when people say not nice things. I'm going to get hurt when I experience rejection, but what kind of hurt is that going to be? Is it going to be a hurt that I can talk myself through and coach myself through and hold on and get over? Or is it going to be a hurt that destroys my very essence? That's the difference. Okay, so how do we do this? Somebody I'm going to call Mindy once asked me this question. She said, I know that I have a neshama, but I don't feel it. What can I do about that? So I told her that there's a person I recently met whose name is Mrs. Millionaire. Now, Mrs. Millionaire, everybody knows her by that name because she won $25 million in a lottery. But there's something funny about Mrs. Millionaire. She doesn't feel rich. She actually lives in a simple house where the roof is broken. There's barely any air conditioning or any heat. The windows don't really close. They're patched up. She never uses the money. She doesn't believe that the money is there. It's too good to be true. So she it's too good to be true. So she doesn't believe it. And I asked this lady, Mindy, I said, I have a question for you. Is Mrs. Millionaire rich or not? And Mindy thought about it for a minute, and then she said, well, if we go by the bank account, the fact is she's rich. But when it comes down to it, in her real life, she's very poor. Now, I said to her, okay, that makes sense, right? Technically, she's rich, but experientially, she's poor. So I said, okay, here's another question. Imagine one day, Mrs. Millionaire comes knocking on your door. You open the door, you welcome her inside, and you offer her a cup of coffee. You sit down with her, you're bringing, you're schmoozing, this, that, and then she starts telling you her story about how she won this amazing lottery and how she got a letter in the mail, and she got a letter from the bank that tells her there's $25 million in the bank and it's certified, and her husband told her he checked it out and they got the bank statement and it says it's certified, she has it. But she says, I'm a very logical person. I'm very practical. And this whole idea of being rich, it doesn't make any sense. How could it be? Yeah, I see it on my bank statement, but how could it be? I wish I could feel rich, but I don't. Can you please give me some advice? What can I do to help myself feel rich? So Mindy said, what do you mean? What do you mean? She's rich. Well, basically she said, we had a little conversation about it, and then, she said, Mrs. Millionaire, listen, who cares if you don't believe in it or you do believe in it? Why should we even bother having a conversation? Come with me. I'll go shopping with you. Give me that card. Show me that card that you have from that bank account, and let's swipe it. Let's go shopping and open up that charity website and put in those numbers. Swipe your bank card, use it, and you'll see that it works. Now, as Mindy finished saying this to me, she looked at me and we both laughed because she got it. I was trying to tell her that who cares if you don't believe it? Just experience it. Like, do something. It's okay if you don't feel courageous. Do something courageous, and then you'll have tasted courage. It's okay if you don't feel dignified. Act with dignity, and that will be your taste of the dignity that you know is yours. Right? So she said, okay, it's very nice. I get what you're getting me, but it's not so simple. Because if I go shopping, if I have a lot of money, fine, I could go shopping. It's very clear. And my feelings about money cannot get in my way of using it. But with my neshama, my feelings about my neshama could get in my way of using it, of using that courage. Because if I don't believe it, I won't act on it. And now I want to talk about what we can do for that, because there is truth to that. If I don't believe in the value of my neshama, it's not going to help me. So again, the basic tools that we learned is think about your neshama, visualize it. We also spoke about noticing the little voice in your mind, right? Like when you say, I am precious, I'm valuable, when you're thinking about Maida Ani and you're thinking about how Hashem is investing himself in you and you're worthy and unconditionally respectable and all that, notice that little voice in your head that negates, that denies, that says, no, you're not. Notice the part of your brain that doesn't believe, and consciously Let go of them. Make a decision that, no, actually, I don't want to believe that. I want to believe my worthiness. But there's another simple, effective tool that we can use, and we're actually going to talk about a few other ones as well. Okay. I think it's a great idea to sit down and write at least 5 descriptive words about the preciousness or the value of a neshama. And let's say you say, well, I can't think about the value and the preciousness of a neshama because I don't so much believe in that. So I'm going to tell you to do something else. Write 5 qualities that you believe are the most wonderful qualities, the greatest possible qualities that any person could have. Write down that list and read your list. And then imagine that you wake up one morning and your name is on top of that paper, meaning this list actually describes you. It's certified by like you really get that. You really believe that this list describes you. Okay, you got it. You own it. You feel a sense of identification with these qualities. When you look at these beautiful qualities, you know that they belong to you. Right? Now my question to you is, what would you stop doing? And what would you start doing? In other words, let's say somebody's trying, I'll give you an example, what somebody told me when I asked her this question. Let's say she said, I am infinitely respectable. Okay, that was one of her qualities. And so then when I asked her, okay, if that's true, let's say, but she said, but I don't believe it. I said, okay, let's say you would believe that you are infinitely respectable. What's one thing that you would start doing if you are infinitely respectable? And she said, I would make my bed every morning. I would make my bed every morning because I believe that that's, a respectable person has a neat and clean room. Somebody else said, I wouldn't eat unhealthy food. Somebody said, I would serve myself dinner on fine china. Somebody said, I would actually be nice to myself. So you get my drift where I'm going with this. For each person, it's something else. But the one thing that's the same about everyone is like the process of answering the question. If I would be infinitely respectable, what would I start doing differently? For some of us, it might mean, not going to certain places. For some of us, it might be what we stop doing. If I am infinitely respectable, I'm going to stop doing this behavior because it doesn't fit somebody who's really respectable. I'm going to stop, I'm going to stop putting myself down. I might stop hanging out with that person because that person actually, I don't feel very respectable about myself. Whenever I hang out with that person, I don't feel self-respect. So maybe I'm just not going to do that anymore. So whatever your answer is, act on it, even if you don't feel like it. Because when you act on an idea, that's how that idea becomes more connected to you. It's as simple as what Mindy said to the Mrs. Millionaire, right? She said, go shopping, swipe the card. It doesn't matter if you don't believe it. Just use it. And we could apply that same thing to us. Yes, our beliefs could get in our way, but only if we stop at our beliefs. That's the only way our beliefs about our neshama could get in the way. We have the permission, and we have the choice, and we have the possibility to act on the truth. And the truth is we are infinitely respectable. So if I say, okay, I'm going to bypass my feelings about this, I'm just going to do respectable. I'm going to do self-respect. I'm going to do dignity. I'm going to do courage. I'm going to do light. I'm going to do strength. I'm going to do goodness. That's the same idea as just swipe that card. Okay, I'm going to pause now for questions. If anybody wants to speak up, press *1, or you can text to 917-687-9712. I'm going to take a minute to... So someone's asking, if I focus on my strengths, is that considered red strings? That's a good question. The way I see it, look at it like you have a cup, and then you have the things that you put in the cup. You have a container, and then you have the items that you put in the container. Okay? We started talking about this last week. Maybe we talked about it also the week. Think of the cup as your relationship with Hashem and your awareness of your personal value, your connection with your neshama. That's the cup. And what goes inside the cup is what I call people goodness. Compliments that you get from people, positive feedback, encouragement, cheers, positive experiences, including your own recognition of your physical, practical, tangible strengths. Wow, I know how to bake a cake. That makes me feel good about myself. That all goes in the category of what I call people goodness. It's stuff that goes in the cup. Now, if you have a hole in your cup, then no matter how much time you spend focusing on your strengths, you will always feel like you're not good enough. Why? Because think about a cup. You could pour in water and fill it till the top. But if the cup has a hole, it will never be full. And again, the cup is our sense of connection with ourself, our sense of connection with our neshama. If there's a hole in that, if I don't have a strong foundation of I am worthy for no reason other than the fact that Hashem says so, then all the people of goodness in the world will be leaking out of my cup. As fast as I could put it in, it's going to be coming out. The bigger my disconnect from my personal value, from my true value, from my neshama value, the more people goodness I will be striving to create. Please let me know if that answers your question. Press *1. That's the easiest way. Okay. I don't see other questions now, so we're going to continue. The summary of this is that action, 1 minute. Someone is saying, okay, so are you saying that instead of focusing on my strengths, I should focus on the labels of my neshama? I want to ask you, what does the word focus mean? I'm assuming that it means pay attention to. I'm assuming it means think about it. Meaning, remember we spoke about the spotlight in our mind? There's always a spotlight in our mind, and think about it like, when you're watching a play, the spotlight, you could have 10 people on the stage, but let's say the spotlight is on one person, so it's as if you really basically see that one person because the lights are off. So we all have such a spotlight in our minds. So when you tell me, should I focus, I'm imagining there's a spotlight in your mind, and you're focusing the spotlight on a specific thing. Okay? So should you focus on your strengths to feel good about yourself? And now you're asking, Are you saying that I should, instead of focusing on my strengths, I should focus on my neshama? My real answer is that both are important. Both are very important. And it's important also to know the place of each one. And I also want to say that focusing is not enough. It's not enough to focus your attention, because focus on your attention is what you're going to do this minute. The goal of focusing your attention, that's the real zach here. The goal of focusing your attention on it is to feel connected to it, to identify with it. You know, like when somebody, there are certain things about you that they're so like, hi, my name is Shterna. I'm a Shvei girl, right? It's my identity. That's who I am. That's right. I have this color skin. I weigh this amount. This color skin shouldn't be our identity, but I have this color. There are certain things about me that really, really, like I identify as a woman. I identify as a wife. I identify as a mother. I identify as a sister. I identify as a friend. These are things that I own. I own this position. I own this quality. I own this about me. I'm a light. I'm like Rabbi Jacobson always says, to be an ambassador of Hashem's light, right? We are ambassadors of Hashem's light, right? How much do you identify? How much do you see yourself as an ambassador of Hashem's lichtigkeit? That's the goal here. So it's not about what you focus on. The ultimate goal is how you see yourself. And how you know how you see yourself is, let's say you're in a situation, okay? You walk into a room and something unpleasant is going on. How do you see yourself? Are you going to be an observer, somebody who watches the unpleasant situation? Are you going to be a victim of the situation, somebody who gets hurt by the situation? Are you going to be a escaper of the situation? You're going to just run away? You have nothing to do with it? Or are you going to say there's an unpleasant situation and I, as a carrier of Hashem's light, I am here to make a difference, and I'm going to make a difference. And I'm not talking about situations like that are very, very extreme. I'm talking about a situation wherever you go. I'm talking about when you meet somebody in the grocery store and she happens to be a teacher that, you had 3 years ago, and you really didn't behave in her class. And it's kind of awkward to bump into her in a grocery store. What's going to happen? What are you going to do? Are you going to feel like, oh my, this is awkward, I got to get out of here? That's an escaper. Are you going to feel like an observer? I'm going to just watch this moment. Let's see what she does. Are you going to be a victim? Oh my, I'm so embarrassed, I'm so embarrassed, I'm so embarrassed, I'm so embarrassed, I'm so embarrassed. Or are you going to see yourself as a carrier of Hashem's light, as a person who actually has something to give to other people, every other person that you meet? And you walk over to her and you say, hi, Mrs. So-and-so. When I was in your class, remember, I feel regretful of the way I behaved. Looking back, I really didn't respect you. I'm sorry. I didn't treat you respectfully. I hope you're beginning to hear the difference of what I mean when I say owning your place, owning your value. In any situation, I want to give another example just because I feel like this is so important. You have an argument with a friend, okay? You don't agree on something, and the conversation got heated, and you both hang up, and the situation is awkward, okay? As an observer, as a victim hangs up and says, "Ay, that was disgusting. I'm going to wait till she apologizes. I am not going to call her until she apologizes." That's a victim. Okay? I need her to apologize before I could pick myself up and be me. I cannot be me. I'm a kind person, but I cannot be kind to her unless she apologizes. That is a victim. An observer is like, okay, whatever. I'm just going to do my thing. Let's see what happens. An escaper, somebody who like right away runs to another friend, tells her what happened, and decides I will never talk to that person ever again. Even if she calls me, I'm just going to ignore her. That's an escaper. And a carrier of Hashem's light, a key player in Hashem's world, has a whole different approach. That was awkward. Okay, let me take a deep breath. Let me get back to myself. Let me process. Let me recover my strength. And let me think, how did I contribute? What could I have done differently in that conversation? How could I have been more sensitive, more thoughtful, more kind? What would it look like if I would have respected myself more? What would it look like? How would it have been different if I would respect my friend more? What would I have said differently? And that gives me the courage to pick up the phone and tell my friend, not that minute, but maybe not that minute, maybe not even that hour, maybe not the next day, but a couple of days later, when I recover, when I process, when I collect myself, I'll pick up the phone and say, how are you? I've been thinking about that conversation. It was really awkward, and I feel like I said things. I was actually offended I was hurt by some of the things that I heard from you. But I have to say, I want to apologize for what I said to you. It was not respectful. It was not how I want to show up in our friendship. I hope you're hearing the difference. When you own your courage, when you own your neshama, when you own your essential identity, it's not just about what you focus on. It's how you live. It's how you carry yourself. It's how you see yourself in a very pervasive way, if I could use the word pervasive in a positive way. It's all encompassing. It transforms the way you relate to other people and the way you relate to the events and situations that you deal with in your life. And does that mean we should never look at our people goodness? Does that mean that if I'm a good baker, it means nothing? If I'm great at organizing, it means nothing? No, of course, it's special. It makes me feel good. That's okay. But just keep it separate. My essential identity, my essential, fundamental, foundational, the cup, the foundation of my value is untouchable. It's all about Hashem. It's absolute. Nobody could diminish it. Nobody could exaggerate it. It's nothing. It is, and it always will be. And people goodness is stuff that comes on top of it. Okay, you can ask any questions. Press *1. Let's have this out so that you get the most out of it. Someone here is asking a question. When you say sorry to your teacher, how does that reflect on your value? I'll tell you how. And really, it's a bigger conversation, but I think it's important to say it here because it came up here. If I don't own my value, then I can't take ownership of if I don't own my power, right? Then I also don't take ownership of my impact on other people. I think of myself as, I'm a nothing. I'm a something, I'm a nothing. Therefore, when other people hurt me, it's terrible. And I can't apologize to that teacher because really that teacher was disgusting. What she did to me was wrong. She ruined my day. She ruined my week. She gave me a bad grade on my report card. And because of that, I couldn't get into the seminary that I wanted to get into. And we're so busy focusing on what she did that we don't realize, and we can't realize that we also had an influence on actually what happened in our lives. If we don't own our power as powered by Hashem, then we can't own the impact we have on our reality and the impact. We started off this course talking about that we are the greatest influencers in our lives. Very nice to hear that. But it's a whole different thing when you really believe it. And if I really believe that I am the greatest influencer in my life, if I own my neshama, then I'll believe that I'm the greatest influencer in my life because I have something in me that's so powerful that makes a difference to everything that happens in my life. And does that mean you'll run and now today go apologize to every teacher you ever had? Absolutely not. It's a nice thing to do, but that's not my point. Like, don't get distracted by the story. I was comparing the courage and the greatness of spirit and the level of responsibility and the level of midas to be able to apologize as opposed to the victim, helpless, observer, escapee. I hope that's clear. My point is not to tell you that you should go and apologize to every person you ever hurt, to every teacher that you didn't behave by, every teacher who you were ever angry at, and you spoke bad about her, and maybe you hurt her feelings. That's not what my point is. Again, it's a nice thing to do, but that's not my point. My point is, I want you to understand the difference between what it looks like in an ordinary situation. You bump into your teacher who you did not have a good relationship with her. You bump into her in a grocery store and you're standing behind her in line. What are you going to do? Are you going to feel like a victim? Like, oh my, I hope she takes this opportunity to apologize? I can't believe this is terrible. What's going on here? My day, I'm mortified. I'm humiliated. It's triggering such resentment, such anger, so much pain. That's one thing. Am I going to be observer and say, oh, nonchalantly, look what happens? Am I escaper? I need to run away to a different line. Let me make sure she's not going to see me and make sure I don't see her. Or am I going to say, hashgacha pratis, that I'm here, actually take the opportunity to give her something, because that's what I'm here for, to make a positive difference to the other people around me. Does that answer your question? You could press *1 or you could text. Okay. Yay, thank you. Okay, thank you. Anybody else have any questions on this? You can press *1. I'm not going to... Where does accepting how I'm feeling come in? It's everywhere. Okay, there's a bunch of questions coming in. I don't know if we're going to get to all of them today, but whatever we don't get to today, Be'ezus Hashem, we will deal with next Thursday night. These are all really good questions coming in. Okay, where does accepting my feelings come in? It's everywhere. I'm not saying. Okay, let me backtrack a second. When I'm telling you to act on your self-respect, to act on your value of your neshama, even if you don't feel it, that's because the goal is to connect with your neshama. Okay? That's where I'm encouraging you to fake it until you make it. Meaning, even if you don't believe that you're respectable, act respectable. And in your mind, tell yourself that I am doing this because by this act of respect, I am demonstrating to myself that because of my neshama, I am absolutely respectable. Okay, that's one thing. Now, if you're standing on line in the grocery store and you're feeling miserable and you're feeling anger, resentment, or you're feeling nonchalant, like just an observer, or you're feeling like an escapee, you need to run away, right? That's a different, that's not a place to ignore your feelings. You know, that those are your feelings. That's where you're at. That's how you know where you're at. If you don't have the courage, if you feel like you need to run away, you want to go home. You could run away, but then go home and ask yourself, why am I feeling like a victim of another person? Why do I feel such a need to avoid her? What power am I attributing to her? And that's just an indicator of where you want to do some work and you want to grow. And that's how you know that I have work to do. I have to really establish my connection with my neshama so that I should feel like I am the biggest influencer in my life. I should feel like I have it in me to make a positive difference to every person I meet and not have to feel like I have to run away. And again, I'm using this as an example. Don't get distracted by the example. I'm not encouraging you to ignore your feelings. I think the feelings are very, 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 very important to know, because that's how I know whenever, like the example I shared with you last week. Remember, I told you that I got so excited when I got that text from a friend. I was like, oh, okay, I got so excited. That means this is the kind of energy I have to have when I say my Da'ani in the morning. This is, now I know how excited I have to be when I say my Da'ani, when I think about the fact that Hashem is giving me a compliment. That means I need to think about that more. I need to invite more energy into my relationship with Hashem. I need to personalize it more. It kind of gives us an awareness of where we want it. It's a guide of how we could grow. Okay, somebody press *1. Speak up, please, if you press *1.
Even if someone defines themselves by their neshama, then it still makes sense to care about what other people think.
Exactly. That's why I said, from a human dimension, you'll always care what people think. And that's why I said, I'm making a separation between, I define myself by my neshama, that's my cup. Inside the cup, I goes all the people goodness, right? So if somebody, tips my cup and takes out a lot of compliments, she takes away, she takes away people goodness by giving me something bad, I'm going to care. My question is, how much am I going to care? How much are you going to care? To what level of depth of pain? What did she do? Did she take away? Did she insult you? Is it like a drop of rain that got you wet? Or is it a drop of rain that melted you and broke you and shattered you to pieces?
It's really two separate things. It's like there's the value of your neshama and that you know it's true and that you could always connect to. And then there's what people think of you, which is less important, but it's still there.
Did you hear my difference, what I said about the example? If somebody insults you, okay? It's two separate things, but they operate together. And the neshama part is never out of the picture. It's never irrelevant. It's never not meaningful. It never doesn't make a difference. That's my point. So, and here's the difference that it makes. Okay, you gave a very good example. Somebody insults you. Somebody hurts your feelings. Okay, is it a drop? Is it like they threw mud on your face and you wash it off and you get clean? Or did they do something that, or is it like they melted your sugar cube and they destroyed you with that insult? Do you hear the difference? Hello? Do you hear the difference?
Yes, but I think it's like it's like it's still there. Like, let's say if someone insults someone, then it's still there. The insult is there. The hurt feelings are there, but in a much lesser way, because you know that it doesn't really impact your value, but it does impact what you feel people are thinking about you.
Okay, great. So now the question is, how does that play itself out? Okay, and I'll tell you how it plays itself out. In the first case, okay, if it destroys me, if this person's insult destroys me, first of all, I'm dysfunctional for 3 days, depending on how much I respect that person, depending on how much I invest my energy in that person, depending on a lot of things. But I might, and depending how severe was her insult. Okay? But I might be insulted enough to sulk and be miserable for 3 days that my mind keeps going back to it, and I'm in a lot of pain. That's one thing. And I can't even do anything about it, because from that place, I'm not having a conversation with her, because I could only be mad at her, and it's not going to be a very meaningful conversation. Okay? Whereas if she didn't destroy me, and it was just something that I could deal with, it's like external, it's superficial, it doesn't destroy me, even though it makes me very uncomfortable, I could deal with it. I could say, oh, ouch, that hurt. I'm a person. I could talk. I could figure it out. I could have a conversation with her. Or I could walk away and have a great day despite the fact that somebody insulted me. It doesn't take up that much space. Do you hear the difference?
Yes, yeah.
Okay. There are a lot more questions came in, and I'm so excited because I love questions, and that's really what makes this that's what makes this a meaningful experience for everybody. So, Emir Hashem, this Sunday we're not being on. This Sunday I have a family simcha Baruch Hashem, so we're not being on this Sunday, and we're going to be meeting again next Thursday. I will remind you, Emir Hashem, but I'm looking forward, and we're going to continue talking about practical ways of how to connect to our inner awesomeness and what that looks like, and the benefits of that, and how it plays itself out in our practical day-to-day relationships. So if you have more questions during the week, text to 917-687-9712, and I look forward to reconnecting. Emir Hashem, have a wonderful, meaningful, happy Shabbos, and thank you so much for joining. Thank
you.
Thanks.
Thank you.
Night. Thank you.